welcome back. So today we're going to fix this white DS Lite. Kind of alluded to it in the Virtual Boy video, but this is what I bought recently. Bought white because it was the same color as the one I had back in my childhood. Got it for a decent deal. It was like 20 bucks. As far as I can tell, it works mostly. There's an issue with the top screen that's kind of finicky, but I think we can just fix that, I think, just by fixing the cable, just by readjusting it. And it pretty much needs cleaning. One thing I also noticed is that the touchscreen just kind of doesn't work. It thinks that it's always being touched, and therefore the calibration is completely off. So I bought a replacement digitizer for it, and we're going to try and replace that without replacing the whole screen. So we'll do a quick little demo of it. Right, so we can see it's got issues with the top screen. I notice if I press the left trigger, it fixes it for most of it. So I think it's just kind of a faulty placed cable. I can't really use the touchscreen all that well in the upper 2/3. But you notice like it immediately opens up where originally it would just say touch the screen to continue. So I think that there's something wrong with it. I tapped here, it opened up pickle check. So there's issues with it. Other than pretty much the screens needing adjustments and a good clean, it works. I bought this game cart cover separately because it didn't come with it, and then a stylus that I had. This is actually the original white stylus from my original white DS Lite. I kept it around all these years with every time I got a new DS, so kind of bittersweet. So let's take it apart. I've got a iFixit guide pulled up just as a reference, just in case I get stuck on anything. But let's go ahead and get started. Battery cover should just slip out. There we go. I did kind of take this apart earlier, just because I needed to take a look inside of it. Sometimes the battery cover can be really hard to pull out, just by the nature of the system. In this case, I mean, it's covered in grime and stuff, but also it's probably been on there for, you know, almost 20 years since this has been released. So sometimes it takes a little just to get them off, but we're going to set these off to the side. Now there are 2 Phillips heads screws in the battery cover. And then there are 4 tri-wing screws in the rest of these holes and under these 2 rubber feet. Now, taking off the bottom is actually kind of different than other handhelds that you would imagine. It's not like a back cover. It's actually almost like a, I guess the term would still be housing, but it like pops off on the side. You'll see what I mean here. You have to kind of dig in somewhere like that, and then use a spudger, soft flathead, any kind of good tool to get this opened. I missed a screw. It's a 5th one. This is tiny black one. It blends in. Now the bottom cover is off, and you know, we can see it's got some of the grime and stuff. So we will get this all apart before we clean them, but that is how that comes out. Now we need to get the motherboard out. First thing first, we got to pull out the shoulder buttons. Be careful when doing this because the rod that holds the spring in place is freely moving, so they're gonna go flying, and they are a pain to put back in. So I tend to just grab it by the spring, kind of with my finger, push it in and kind of at an angle so it stays in place, and then just lift up, and then just set them down in a way that the rod doesn't fall out. Next is the Wi-Fi daughter board. It has 1 signal wire running to it. You can just pry this one off, like so. And then the daughter board is held in with a connector and like a small adhesive pad. You kind of just pry it up and then pull it away. See, adhesive and little plug. Step to the side. So now, there are a few things. We're going to pull off this signal wire here. Let's move it out of the way real quick. Now we need to undo some of these flex cables, and we're going to zoom in to do this. So there's the ribbon cable for the digitizer for the touchscreen. Lift up the black flap, and then it just pulls out like so. And then there are some screws that need to come out, and these are all also tiny Phillips heads. That should lift up the motherboard. So now we're going to lift up. Sorry. Have to push the bottom screen out with it. We lift up on the motherboard, and this, like every other DS console, the screen is plugged in on the back. So we need to be careful with that, but we're just gonna pop up the black lever like so, and then the ribbon cable should just come out. Alright. Now this black antenna wire needs to come out, which is annoying. This is run through the cart slot, so you just kind of have to like make sure it's flat and then, you know, maneuver it through. I can't really show you this because I can't even see it, but we're just gonna make sure that the we're gonna make sure that the cable's head is upside down, and we're just gonna try and finagle it out. That was easy. All right, and then the motherboard with the bottom screen can come out like so. There are two Phillips screws holding in this latch cover. And then this should just come out. There we go. Slips in and then sits. To take apart the top screen, 4 screws are hidden under the rubber. I don't even know what to call these things. Let's call them stickers. Hey, that was actually much easier to do than I thought. I'll make sure that's included. So those 4 pads are off and the screws are out. And we're basically doing the exact same thing here to get the top off. We kind of have to pry a little bit to separate the clear part from the actual housing of it. So now that that is apart, I think that's actually enough for all we need for the top shell here. I mean, obviously we need to clean it, but this doesn't have to come apart any farther for that. We'll set these off to the side. Now, yes, we would clean as the next step, but I need to fix the digitizer. So I'm looking at the next steps in this guide here. Basically, I mean, they're using a specific tool. I don't have that, but we need to pull off the sticker here first. So let's a little bit. All right. So this white sticker here needs to come off. I'm gonna do what I can without the same tool. I'm gonna set this face down so I don't get any dust under it. And now the digitizer comes off. Using my replacement as a reference, I can kind of see where I need to pull up on. So we're just gonna, I'm being a little aggressive with this because I know the digitizer needs replacing. But obviously, if yours is functioning, you have absolutely no reason to do this. So. There's an old digitizer with its adhesive on it. I don't think my replacement came with any adhesive, which might be a problem. Let's see if we can pull this off. No idea how much that'll help, but it's there. So now I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna put it face down, just so that no dust gets on that. We'll set the old digitizer off to the side in case this new one just flat out doesn't work. So now we can clean. We've got our Q-tips, we've got some rubbing alcohol, and we're just gonna do our normal cleaning routine. So everything is now cleaned. Let's go ahead and get everything put back together. We will start with the top portion of this, and then we'll kind of work our way back down, getting to the motherboard last. So pretty much doing everything we just did in reverse order. Okay, took me like 15 minutes to get this top part on. Basically, there were teeth on the framing and then the cover. And they're supposed to be like this, so you would slot them in and then they clip. I didn't realize that, so when I put it together, it like bent them, so I had to bend them back. It just took me a little while to realize that. So now we can continue on with this. Okay, so I think this is on enough that we can test it. We just have to slip the back cover on and plug in the battery. We'll plug in digitizer now. Okay, let's slip on cover. Yeah. Just enough to get the battery in. And I have nothing. Okay, I had to stop recording for like half an hour. I was running into issues with getting it to boot. And let me walk you through what I did to troubleshoot it, because I finally figured it out. Originally, I had it plugged in, ready to go. I would hold the battery up to it, and it didn't work. As it turns out, the Wi-Fi chip has the BIOS for the DS Lite on it. So without the Wi-Fi chip plugged in, or if you have a faulty one, system won't boot. It'll, in my case, it would turn on the green light and then stay solid, but screens wouldn't turn on, no sound, etc. It just wasn't booting. So I plugged it in, and then I was getting what I had been troubleshooting for the last half an hour. Was it would turn on, green light would come on, get a little bit brighter, and then shut off. And I was having trouble like diagnosing it because there are two big causes for that. One is there can be a blown fuse. There are two on here that can cause that. And if one's blown, there are two, I won't get too technical into it. There are two fuses on the board. If the first fuse is blown, it won't charge. It charged just fine, so it wasn't that one. If the second one is blown, then the whole system just doesn't turn on. But that didn't sound right because the LED was still lighting up and I was getting a little bit of like a out of the speaker as it got power and then immediately shut off. So I was just fiddling with it for a little while. I kept Googling and looking things up, and then somebody said it could just be a misplaced ribbon cable. And I thought that wasn't it because I had plugged them in, and there weren't any issues. They weren't popping out or anything. But it turns out, like I mentioned earlier, they were hard to get out. So I'm assuming whatever was hard made them hard to get out is exactly what made it hard to get them in all the way. So I had pushed them in. They weren't going in anymore, so I thought they were in. Turns out they weren't. So I had to line up, for example, on the bottom screen, I had to take my tweezers and just kind of pinch the ribbon cable all the way in, and now it's working. You also see the old digitizer here because I thought maybe the new one was broken. Actually, that might still be the case. I haven't plugged it in, but I plugged the top one in. The old one just to make sure because I knew it worked for the most part. But it hasn't really made much of a difference as far as I can tell. So now that it's working, we can go ahead and finish up reassembling it, closing it, and get everything situated back in place. So let's finish this up. Okay, that's done. So the shoulder buttons, they did kind of come apart when I was cleaning them. So this is kind of what I found works well for them. An easier way to do this, take the metal rod, so slot it in its little housing thing, and then take the shoulder button and the spring, line up the hole with where it lines up, and then put both of them in place over top of the rod, like so, and then hold it in place while you bend the spring into its supporting bracket. Jeez. Like so. Now that all of that's done, we can put the bottom shell on. So it's fully back together now. Let's test it out, make sure that it works. Grab my copy of Heart Gold. Okay, so the top screen is still bugged. And, okay, so the top screen needs to be replaced at some point. And the bottom touchscreen doesn't work, so I'm willing to bet that that's a faulty part. Okay, it still reads the game, which is good. So, let's do a recap on this. We took it apart, cleaned it, replaced the bottom digitizer with an apparently faulty part, and let's see. We learned how fuses in this thing work. So it was a bit of a rough one, in my opinion. There's things that still need to be fixed on it. I still see some grime that I thought I cleaned out that needs to be cleaned again. I need a new bottom touch display. I'll probably just buy the whole thing as one unit if I can find one. And I need a new top screen because that one is still apparently broken. And on top of that, there's a bit of a bulge here. It's kind of hard to see because I ran the black wire through the housing as opposed to under the cartridge slot because I think that's a stupid way to do that. So this is probably going to need more work. It needs more work on it to be working. What I'm going to do is right now, I'm going to tell Amazon that the bottom touchscreen thing I bought doesn't work, so I can get my money back, use that to buy a replacement screen, and then I'll buy a top screen for this as well. And then I'll have to take it apart and clean it and fix all that stuff again. If you would like to see a part 2 of this, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just do it off camera on my own time. Also, let me know if you know what all this crap is that's in it. My best guess is soda, which also explains why some things were sticky, like the ribbon cables to pull out. Like the screen says, my camera died with about 30 seconds left of my recording. Basically, I've got parts on the way to replace the top and bottom screens, and I'm going to get them recorded and uploaded soon. So if you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you, and come by next time.